where do we get the energy to do this? Do we meditate? It's always a good idea. Do we pray? Always a good idea. But there's a new yoga. And we're going to talk today about that new yoga. And it's the new yoga that is actually the fuel of this revolution. It's our revolution. So let's talk for a few minutes about the path and practice, and just let's be together voice to voice, right? Voice to voice. And let's find, what do we mean by this practice of outrageous love letters? The way to awaken, right, as an outrageous lover is the practice of writing outrageous love letters. And the ultimate awakening, and it's so beautiful at this simple, but its second simplicity, realization of the interior sciences. The ultimate awakening of the outrageous lover is the realization that your life itself is an outrageous love letter. So here's the first step. The way you awaken the energy of outrageous love, which is, remember, not ordinary love. It's not a social construction. It's the heart of existence itself. So how do you awaken that? How do you access that? And it's part of the structure of reality, is that we have to actually step inside. That we have to actually activate a yoga in order to access a dharma. That actually no gnosis, no real knowing is actually ever attained without doing transformative practice. That's critical, whether that's in classical science or the interior sciences. Without transformative practice, which is rigorous transformative practice, we don't actually attain gnosis. And particularly in the interior sciences, without transforming and transfiguring something in myself, I never have actual knowledge. I can't get knowledge through moving it around in my brain and my mind and I can't only stay in the realm of words. I have to actually engage in profound yoga in order to access dharma. I need to actually engage in first practices in order to access first principles and first values. So a core practice that we've introduced in our community of outrageous lovers, in this one mountain, many paths, right, is the practice of writing outrageous love letters. Now, evolution becomes conscious to itself through our awakening to the realization that my life, your life itself, is an outrageous love letter. What you realize is you're the messenger that forgot your message. But the message is you. It's encrypted as your unique self. You awaken, right? You awaken by remembering that you actually are the personal face of the evolutionary impulse. And through remembering, religaring, realizing that your own evolution, through your own unique personal evolution of consciousness, you participate in the evolution of love. Right? So to awaken, let's go deep. Let's go deep. Who knows if we have another week or 2 weeks? Let's go deep. This is a forever moment. And we should have many more weeks and years together. But listen, this is like, do we recant face or do we go inside? And there's many ways to recant face. You got to get gentle and kind and open and listen deeply, not to recant face. And we can think we're claiming face when we're actually recanting face. Open your heart. Listen more deeply. Don't try and figure out what the other person's wrong. Actually, try and figure out, what are they actually saying? Follow it all the way home. Find the resistance in yourself. Why are you resisting? What's the source of your resistance? So to awaken as an outrageous lover is to become intimate with reality itself. You recognize that you're living in an intimate universe in which you're seen, witnessed, addressed, and called. And you're called to realize, that's what an outrageous lover understands, that you're called to realize that existence needs you as an intimate partner, that reality actually needs your service, that your outrageous acts of love actually become the text of the outrageous love letter, which is your life. So your life is an outrageous love letter, and the text of your life is outrageous acts of love. And then you realize, oh, so what's my life? My life's an outrageous love story, right? So living your life as an outrageous love letter comes from the realization that my life is an outrageous love story, that it's chapter and verse in the universal love story, and that the outrageous acts of love that I commit, which are a function of my unique self, for which I'm willing to take my unique risk, that's my outrageous love story. What I do is I actually awaken as the evolutionary impulse. When I awaken as the evolutionary impulse, I activate my capacity for outrageous acts of love. When that happens, I become intimate with self and intimate with universe. And universe comes into intimate communion with you, with me. Okay? Now let's go slow for a second. So the practice that activates the truth that my life is an outrageous love letter is the actual practice of literally writing outrageous love letters themselves. Because what we need the capacity to do is not to wait till we feel it, but to actually cause the feeling, to go on the journey, to choose. So you can access outrageous love even when you're not spontaneously feeling it, because the practice, the yoga of writing outrageous love letters itself kindles outrageous love. Now, the practice emerges originally from the Song of Songs of Solomon and the great canon of Hebrew wisdom, which is the great canon of Western civilization, the Song of Solomon, which plays in Islam and in Christianity and in the native traditions. And the Song of Solomon, which is considered the most sacred book of the ancient canon, is essentially a series of outrageous love notes between a lover and a beloved. And that one sentence is a big deal. That's not a given. It's not the way that the public exoteric tradition understands it. But if you know how to read more deeply, it's actually a set of outrageous love notes. That's what it is between a lover and a beloved. The Song of Solomon, which is called Holy of Holies. It's the deepest of the deep. It's called Lifnai v'Lifnim. Remember the word Lifnai was Lifnei, before and face. So to be Lifnai Lifnim is to be on the inside of the inside in the deepest face of the deepest face. It's to never recant face. So to be on the inside of the inside, I've got to write outrageous love letters. So therefore, the Song of Songs, which is called in the sacred text, the inside of the inside, is itself a series of outrageous love notes. And over the last decade, we've written thousands of outrageous love letters to ourselves. You can write an outrageous love letter to yourself. You can write an outrageous love letter to a split off part of yourself that you want to become intimate with. You can write an outrageous love letter to a future dream that you want to live. You can write it to another person, to someone in your circle, to a romantic beloved, but also to a friend who's a beloved that you're working with, you know, on an editing team, to someone that shows up and you meet in the chat box and you write each other outrageous love letters because you actually recognize in each other's comments your beauty, and you get together offline, you say, oh my God, let's be outrageous lovers. That doesn't mean we're going to have sex. Outrageous love is not about sex. And it doesn't mean we're going to get a U-Haul and move in together. It means we're going to see each other and open our hearts and allow ourselves to fall in love and love madly, because our love lists are too short. To write an outrageous love letter, you exaggerate until you're accurate. You actually describe the other person in ways that you're never allowed to, until you actually get to the full accurate beauty of who actually you're writing outrageous love letters with. Now, you might think that, you know, to love outrageously is beyond your capacity. Only saints or outrageous, enlightened beings love outrageously. Not true. It's time for what we've called in the last, 15 years, the democratization of enlightenment, the democratization of enlightenment. And the democratization of enlightenment is the democratization of outrageous love. It means we're not going to meditate our way to enlightenment. We're not going to pray our way to enlightenment. We're going to love our way to enlightenment, right? We're going to love our way to enlightenment. But to do that, we got to democratize outrageous love. There's not a prophet to wait for. Rumi is not going to write your letter for you, and Pasternak's not going to write your letter for you, and Shakespeare's not going to write your letter for you, right? You're going to write it. Your outrageous love. The future is you. The old top-down world of religion and government's over. The old command and control is over. There's no Messiah that's coming. She's already come and she's you. These aren't words of love parading in pretty costumes. This is the deepest truth of cosmos. Right? This is not like a casual activity we do every week. This is the deepest truth of reality. This is the first principle and first value of Eros and reality. That is the realization that emerges from the deepest reality consideration we can do today in the interior and exterior sciences. Practice is simple, right? All you need is your imagination, right? But you got to imagine. You know, God may be a figment of your imagination. That may be true, but your imagination is a figment of God. And when you write outrageous love letters, you let your imagination, your fantasy soar, and you fantasize of a world of depth and a world of goodness and a world of truth. So we actually begin to become utopia. So one of the things we do is we actually envision the dystopian possibility, including the AI dystopian possibility. And I will put next week a full bibliography, right, on, you know, the people that I think are the best people, right, who I've both talked to and engaged in extensively. So everyone can read the full bibliography. I think that's a genuine, I'm actually sure of it, as sure as I'm talking. I'm sure that the existential threat is beyond real, right? And we'll do that bibliography. Maybe we'll send it to people for people who are interested next week, right? And it's hard to imagine, but it's real. But we're not here about invoking dystopia. In order to respond to dystopia, we've got to actually begin to live utopia. We've got to actually embody the alternative. We've got to be able to live the dream of what's possible. We've got to begin to live and be Homo Amor. We've got to begin to live utopia. It's the practice that awakens Homo Amor, right? That awakens your deeper identity as an outrageous love letter is no less and no more than actually writing outrageous love letters yourself. Now stay with me for a second, friends, right? Just a couple more minutes, right? We usually rely on the great poets or sages for words of love. We want to send someone, you know, words of love. We actually find some quote from some master that's written on a card and we send it to someone. You know, often people use Rumi, right? The great Persian poet, and you send someone a love letter with a quote from Rumi. But why would you send someone a love letter with a quote from a dead Persian or a dead Jew or a dead Christian or a dead indigenous Indian, right? No, your outrageous love. We got to democratize outrageous love. Your Rumi. It's your outrageous love letter that actually will blow open reality. And so we actually have to learn this practice. The first turning of the wheel was meditation. The second turning of the wheel, prayer. The third turning of the wheel, as we invoke Homo Amor, is we learn the practice of writing outrageous love letters to those close to you, to those you may not know well, but are part of your life. And when you're ready, you can even write an outrageous love letter to people that you feel are adversaries or competitors. And this practice liberates the unique flame of outrageous love that is the currency of your very existence. And it actually awakens your capacity to commit outrageous acts of love. Wow. Right? Like, wow. So now we're ready. Outrageous love letters make us ready to play, right, the most outrageous game possible, in which outrageous love becomes conscious through you. The value of reality, which is reality seeks value. Reality has an appetite for value, and reality's highest value is we become outrageous lovers. Reality's highest value is that outrageous love awakens at the human level. At the human level, we become conscious of our identity as outrageous love. We become conscious of our identity as unique configurations of outrageous love. We commit outrageous acts of love. And when we commit outrageous acts of love, we are God's hands and goddesses' hands and goddesses' verbs and goddesses' nouns and goddesses' dangling modifiers. We're unique configurations of intimacy. And remember, God's the infinite intimate. That's the name of God that we've invoked. God's the infinity of intimacy. And so when we become outrageous acts of love, when we're divine hands, actually we participate in the field of goddess. We're on the inside of goddess's face. That's what we talked about, right? What it means to not recant face is to be on the inside of goddess's face, to live on the inside. And wow, And when I live on the inside, I actually realize I'm participating in the field of goddess, and my sacred autobiography becomes actually a love letter back to God. In other words, God, goddess, writes us a love letter, which is our unique self. And then we write that love letter, that outrageous love letter back to God, which is our outrageous act of love. So feel this with me, just one last step. Okay. So here's the inside of the interior sciences, right? We're expressing it in a new language, but this is core to reality. This is a gnosis that you can only know through actually practicing deeply. Because remember, all gnosis, all real knowing comes from transformative practice. So here it is. All of reality is an outrageous love letter from goddess to you, from the universe to you. Remember again, the God you don't believe in doesn't exist. Read God, the Tao, the reality principle, the implicate order, the evolutionary impulse, the infinite intimate. But God's letter to you, it's not a form letter. God's outrageous love letter to you is not a form letter. It's a personal love letter addressed to you. And that love letter is your radical, irreducible uniqueness. Your radical, irreducible uniqueness is reality's personal, outrageous love letter to you. And it took the evolutionary impulse scientifically, quite literally, took some 13.7 billion years of synergy to write your personal love letter. Its content, texture, and tone are utterly unique, written and intended only for you. This is the outrageous love letter written from infinity to you, written in the script of your unique self. Then, when you awaken and live your unique self-expression, taking your unique risk, committing your outrageous acts of love as an awakened outrageous lover, then you're writing an outrageous love letter back to goddess. And imagine, goddess friends, the evolutionary impulse sending an outrageous love letter to you in the form of your atomic, cellular, and interior spiritual signature. And feel her, feel goddess yearning over the millennia. And she waits, first she waits for her letter to you to be delivered over billions of years. And then you're born. She's intending you and choosing you and recognizing you and love desiring you and adoring you, but she's also needing you. So when you're born, the clock starts ticking and she waits with bated breath and virtually desperate, yearning to receive your return letter to her. And imagine her going to the mailbox every day and opening the box to see, did a letter come from Medea? Right? Is there a letter? Right? That's the letter that you write back to goddess. That's your unique self committing your outrageous acts of love. And when you awaken to your unique self, and you're awakening as an irreducible, unique expression of the 0 point field, the God field, the field of outrageous love intelligence, you're awakening into your divinity. You're on the inside of God's face. That's when you become an imaginal self. And your life story, your outrageous love story, committing your outrageous acts of love, is the outrageous love letter from God to God signed with your name. Because you are goddess. So goddess is writing herself a return letter. And that return letter is signed with the signature of your life. Like, wow, this is the realization that changes everything. You begin to be lived as love, outrageous love. You begin to live the outrageous love that you imagined in the dreams that you forgot about so long ago. You begin to commit outrageous acts of love. Outrageous love gives you direct and sustained access to a level of aliveness, wisdom, eros, and joy that not only did we forget, we forgot that we forgot. Outrageous love is the memory of our future, of the new human and the new humanity. So now we've brought outrageous love letters onto the table, right? And we're going to begin to have a page where we can actually write outrageous love letters and talk about, right, what outrageous acts of love we committed and inspire each other. We're just beginning. But I wanted to today at least take the next step with your permission, tenderly, gently, right? You know, the beautiful code that Tom resonated, right? To begin to unpack this, What does it mean to be alive? My life is an outrageous love letter back to Goddess. She wrote me an outrageous love letter, my unique self. When I awaken to my unique self, I commit outrageous acts of love. I'm writing that letter back to her that she's desperately yearning for, and that I'm desperately yearning to write, that gives me the ultimate aliveness and joy in the midst of all the agony and all the ecstasy.